Everybody good?
Hi everybody, I'm Rachel Strauss from Woodburn Corner, and today we're going to be learning wood burning. I have been wood burning for about 5 years now, and I got started by wandering around Michael's and seeing the display from Walnut Hollow, and I was looking for a way to make some home decor for my house and some wedding decor for my upcoming wedding. And so I picked up a burner, went home that day, and kind of fell in love. And I have a feeling you guys might too. Wood burning is such a versatile craft, and it is so much fun and so relaxing. It's one of those crafts that you have to slow down. You have to sit and calm yourself down and just focus on what it is that you're doing. And it's just so rewarding and so fun. Not to mention the community that comes with wood burning is spectacular. We have an incredible, incredible group of wood burning artists on Instagram, and most of them really believe in the idea of community over competition. So if you have any questions at any point in time, you can always reach out to me. I'm on Woodburn Corner. You can find me anywhere. But you can also reach out to anybody in the community, and they're happy to answer those questions. So if anything comes up during this chat, please just put a question in the chat box, and either I will answer it or we will have a member of the community pop in and answer it for you. So I thought I would show you guys a little bit about wood burning and show you some of the versatility that wood burning has with it. So at Walnut Hollow and at Michael's, you will find all sorts of amazing wood pieces. Their wood aisle is like, I mean, it's like a candy store for me. But you can see pieces that are made with, whoops, this is upside down, with wood on the edging, with live wood on the edging. This is a basswood piece and it's picture frame. They have smaller wood pieces, and you can add, you know, this is acrylic paint, both watered down and built up. And then they've got round basswood pieces, and these are their country rounds. They're basswood country rounds that have the nice, beautiful edging on them, and they come dried and sanded smooth and ready to go. They're unfinished, which is exactly the type of wood that you need when you're wood burning. Is you want a nice, smooth, dry, clean, unfinished surface. And basswood is one of the best woods out there for wood burning. It's like a wood burner's best friend. It really is. They also have some really long pieces of wood that you can do. I mean, there's just so much you can do within wood burning. And then there are things beyond wood that you can burn on. You can burn on leather, you can burn on canvas, bone, horn, cork, paper. Like the ideas and the things that you can burn on are endless. Once you know the basics of wood burning, which is what we're going to do today, then you can just kind of take it and run with it. And it's so much fun. I always say that it is the hobby or the craft or the art form that everybody should have in their back pocket, because you can just pull it out and use it for so many different things. Okay, so now that you've kind of seen a little bit of what you can make with a wood burned piece, we are going to be making today, towards the end of the class. First, I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about the wood and about the tools and all of that good stuff, so that you really have a good understanding of what you need to get started with this hobby. So this is the piece that we're going to be making today, and it's watercolor and wood burning, and it's so much fun and so quick, but can really just make a house look so pretty. And these are California poppies. It's the state flower. I live in California, and we could use some rain right now, but we're hanging in there. So I thought it would be a good piece for us to do today. Let's see here. I want to show you the different burners that are out there. So in Michael's, you might see the Versa tool on the shelf. This is like it's around $30, I think, in price. And then they also have a second wood burning tool that you might see on the shelf, and this is their creative wood burner. This one is more around like $15. So And the biggest difference between the two is the temperature control. So I always recommend, and I think it's worth it, to go for the Versatool because of the temperature control. It also has incredible, incredible nibs that come with it. I'm going to show you here. So here, let's actually pull them right out. What do you say? So these are the different nibs that come with the Versatool. And they are all so great, and they are good for different uses. This is their teeny tiny microflow, and it burns the tiniest details you can ever imagine. They're so little and so tiny and really, really great. This is the flow that is the nib that we're going to be using today, because I think it's the best for beginners because you can flow in all directions. You don't have to watch your edges, because sometimes you can get stuck, and so it's good to be able to flow in all directions, especially for a piece like we're working on today. This is the shading nib that comes with it. You can use this to add different shading textures to your piece. And you can also use it as like a stamp to make a little leaf pattern. I've seen a lot of pyrographers do that as well. And then there's a couple of other nibs that come with it. This is the universal nib, and this is the one that I probably use the most because I can get the most detail out of it. It is, can you guys see that? I'm sorry, am I in the screen? Oop. There we go. Okay. This one is the universal nib, and it's really a great nib because its purpose is universal. It really is. You can use it for anything. What I always suggest with these ones, though, is right when you get it, you want to give it a quick scrape with a like a sandpaper, so that you can just kind of smooth off those sharp edges just a little, and it makes it nice and smooth for you. And then there's a fine tip one, and then a super fine tip one. There's so many great ones that come with it. And then there's also a fun little stamp that makes like a little star pattern. They're really great. So these are the different nibs that come with it. There's also a calligraphy nib that has a flat sort of an edge. But they all are just great nibs, great burner. This is the burner that you will have the entire time that you are burning. You can use it when you're a beginner, you can use it when you're professional. I still use it all the time because it is just like what is it? The Volkswagen of burners. It's the I don't know. I'm not good at that sort of thing. You know what I mean. What it is it's just the best burner for the price. It is the best burner for the price, and you will use it forever for so many different things. Okay. So that's the Walnut Hollow Versatool, and it also has, you will see it has a temperature control. And the temperature control is great because it makes it so that you can really be in charge of your burning and in control of your burning. So you can turn it way down. You want to start with it low so that you can test where you're at and move your way up. Really get to know your burner, right? Take your time so that you can get to know how it works. It really does help. And so when you get up to the hot, this is going to be very, very hot. When you get all the way up, you'll be scorching your wood. But I usually do when I'm burning something like this, I find myself burning between the orange and the red usually. So I am going to, because this burner takes a couple minutes to warm up. So I'm going to plug it in and get that warming up while we start working on transferring our design. So the way that I teach wood burning is using transfer techniques, because I think that it's a great way to make all of your mistakes ahead of time when you're doing the drawing, and then take your drawing and bring it into into an actual burning. So it's a great way to make all of those mistakes ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner on. This is an older version of the Versatool, but I've got it plugged in, so we're going to use that one today. And I also, when I turn my burner on, I also want to make sure that my nib is securely fastened, because if it's not, then you're going to end up with wobbly lines, and you don't want that. Okay, so the next step is we're going to take our piece of wood, and I am using a Basswood Country Round, a small Basswood Country Round. And they are just so beautiful, and they come soft and smooth and ready to go. Normally, I would say you want to sand your pieces before you get started. But with walnut hollow wood, you usually don't even have to do that because they come super smooth and ready to go. And it's dry and it's unfinished. You also want to make sure, because there are some woods out there that are not safe to burn on. So knowing which woods are safe and which ones aren't is kind of important. And so you can always look it up. You can always ask a burner. You can message me. I'm always happy to help with that. But you want to know what burners or what woods are good to burn on, and which woods are safe to burn on. The other thing about safety, I'm not going to be wearing one today, but normally every single time I burn, I wear a mask. I also like to take a fan. And again, I won't be doing that today because noise-wise, it just won't work for everybody to hear me. But I normally take a fan and I face it away from me and close to where I'm working, but facing away. That way, it's anything that I'm burning, I take the smoke from where I'm burning it, and it's pushing it away from where my face is. You want to have it well ventilated, and just be careful. And whenever you're done burning, turn off your burner, unplug it every single time. So just be careful. Know that it's a very, very, very hot tool, and that you need to treat it as such. You don't want to get burned. You don't want anybody else to get burned. So make sure you're working on a nice, flat, hard surface, and that you follow safety guidelines. You want to be safe about the whole process. Okay, so I have my lovely piece of wood. Can we just take a second to admire the grain? Can we together just take a second to just enjoy the beauty of the grain? Okay, that's enough. Then what you're gonna do is take your design, and you want it to fit on your piece however it is that you want it to be. If you want it centered, this is where you're going to put it right where you want it. Now, you want to make sure that it's square and that it's centered and that it's straight and that it's exactly where you want it right here, right now. Because if you make the mistake now, then you go through all of the work later and are gonna have to undo everything that you just did. So what you'll do is line it up, take a look at it. Okay, does that look good? Does that look straight? Sometimes I even take a photo of it because then I can really tell if something is really straight and centered and right where I want it to be. And then once you are good with where you have it, that's when you take the graphite paper. So graphite paper is an important step when you are transferring designs to wood. A lot of people think that carbon paper is the same as graphite paper, and it's not. Not when we're talking about transferring to wood. It's really important to use graphite paper because any markings that you leave behind, when it's carbon paper, it's going to be really, really hard to remove those markings. When it's graphite paper, though, you can remove them, especially if you use a Tombow sand eraser. These sand erasers are fantastic for removing any little carbon bits or graphite bits that are left behind. Okay, so what you'll do is you take your graphite paper and you're just gonna put it face down. So the dark side down on your wood piece, and you just slide it underneath. Notice how I only taped my design on one side. I did that so that I can slide my graphite paper in. Then what you're gonna do is take, I use an embossing tool. It looks like, whoops, almost dropped it. Looks like this. You can see it here, just a quick little tool. But you can also use a red pen. You can also use a pencil, a marker. I mean, probably not a marker, but any sort of like ballpoint pen or pencil will work great for this. I like to use my little tool because I like to reuse my designs. So I can take this design, trace it, and then I can use this design over and over again. But if I use a red pen, then going back over it a second time is going to be hard because I won't know where I was. Whereas with the embossing tool, you never know where you are. So you always just have to check, but you can reuse the paper. So I'm today going to use the red pen just so that you guys can see clearly that you don't need any sort of fancy tool for this. But this is just so that you can see where you're transferring. So I'm just gonna take and follow my lines. And this is why I say, if you can trace, you can burn. Because it doesn't take that much skill to be able to trace a design and then follow that tracing with your wood burning tool to get your design. So, and when I do it with the red pen, you can see where you've been and where you haven't been. That way it makes it easier to know what spots you haven't filled in yet.
Hey, Rachel, we're having some people ask if you could just move a little higher into the center of the frame. Awesome.
Was that better?
A lot easier. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, here, let me move the burner because that is blocking me from moving there. Sorry about that, guys. All right, here we go. So yeah, so I'm just following my lines and I'm using just like a normal pressure. You don't have to push too hard. The design will push through. Here, you can take a peek and see how you're doing. Ooh, right? And it doesn't matter that it goes back in a different spot, and you can reuse this one single piece of graphite paper over and over and over and over and over again. It's fantastic. And it's fairly inexpensive too.
Rachel, we also have some questions about what nib you have currently warming up. Can you remind us?
Yes, it's the flow nib. It's the one that looks like it would flow on a surface. It's rounded. Here, let me pull it out for you guys. Hold on one sec. Just want to get some of this transferred. Sorry, I sing to myself when I'm burning and things on occasion, so you'll just have to excuse that when I'm in the zone. Okay, here we go. So the nib is this guy here. This rounded one. Can you see it there? Does that work? Can you see it? Yes, no, yes, no. Is that worse, better? Yes? Okay. I only can see a couple of your faces, so it's, it makes this interesting, but it's nice seeing faces, I have to say. Okay, so then I'm going to keep transferring while my burner is still warming up, and you want to make sure that you transfer all your designs before you burn. And the better your transfer, the better the burn, because you will have a cleaner transfer, right? So it will be a cleaner burn. You want to really take your time here, unlike what I am doing, and get it as close to what you want it to look like, whatever the design may be, the first time when you're transferring it, because then when you're burning, you're not having to make any corrections, you're literally just following lines. All right, let's take a look. Did we get everything? Looks like we did. And you can see here, I kind of went double, but it's gonna be all right because one, we have an eraser, and you don't need to ever worry about mistakes, because with wood, it may seem like it's hard to erase things when you're burning it in, but a lot of times you can sand things off and you can chip things off with just even a little razor blade. So don't worry about little mistakes, just have fun with it and dive in and go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna I usually like to take my design and set it nearby. That way, if I need to reference it, I can, to make sure that I got the line where I wanted it, make sure I'm not missing any lines anywhere. But it's a good way to just reference your design. Okay, so now my burner should be warm, but the way that you can check, oh, you guys see all of my glitter? We call this wood glitter. Isn't it cute? It goes on the floor and I vacuum it later. Okay, then let's see here if we're nice and warm. What you can do is either get a scrap piece of wood, and what's best is to have a scrap piece of wood of the same type of wood that you're burning on and cut from the same way. So if it's a cross cut like this is, where you see all of the rings, then you are gonna want to try and find the same type of wood with the same crosscut to see how this burner burns on that wood, because different types of wood burn differently. So basswood is a softer wood. Birch is a little bit harder. So a lot of times with birch, you need to turn the temperature up and go a little bit slower. Cork is like the softest wood around you. It burns like literal butter. It just melts away under your burner. But no matter what you do, you want to test your temperature to make sure that you're in the right spot. So today what I'm going to do, because it doesn't matter for me and what I'm using this for, what the back looks like. So I'm just going to flip over my piece and then test out my burner on the back. So, and you can do that. You can do squiggles, you know, you can go nice and slow and see how thick of a line you can get. You know, but you can get a feel of how fast you have to move in order to create a certain look about the piece that you're working on. The other thing that here, let me see if I put it someplace else. The other thing that you can do is if you are seeing that your line is looking jumpy, if it is looking like it's not as smooth as it normally looks, what you can do is sometimes your burner is just getting dirty. And so you can take a little piece of sandpaper, or a sandpaper block is preferred. Let me grab one and show you exactly what I mean. Because it's just a quick sand, but it makes such a big difference. So this is the sandpaper block that I like to use, and it has a medium grit on one side and a fine grit on the other. And what I do with my burner is you just take and you're just going to give it a quick scrape. And all that does is clean off any of the dirt and grime that has built up and any of the char that has built up from the burner. So once you feel like, okay, I think I kind of know how this burner flows, and I think I like this temperature. Right now I am at low red, and so you kind of get the idea, and then you're like, okay, I think I'm ready. The other thing that I'm doing is when I'm burning, and granted, I would normally be wearing a mask, I would normally have a fan on, but I also like to, so that I can really see what I'm doing, I like to have my head to the side of where I'm working. So I'm left-handed, so I work like this. I like to tilt my head to the side so that I have a really good vantage point of what I'm burning, but also what I just burned, so that you can make those minute adjustments as you go. The other thing is, if you hold your burner up for a bit and then you go to put it back down, it's going to be hotter. So when you touch back down, you might get an overburn, which sometimes happens where it gets some, let's see if I can get you an overburn. See where there's like some browning around the actual burn spot. Can you guys see that? Right there. And so you can kind of cool it down. If you aren't wearing a mask, which I still recommend you wear a mask, you can blow on it for a second before you touch down. And that gives it more of a smoother entrance or reintroduction back into the wood. But you also, instead of blowing on it, you can also, instead of just touching down and then moving, because see, you get that spot that's more burned, you can just move as you touch down. So start moving that line right as you touch down, and that can help you with those sorts of situations. All right, so if you feel confident and you're like, all right, I feel like I've got a good handle on this nib and a good handle on the burner, I'm ready to get started, then you can just flip your piece over and literally get started, start burning your piece. And don't be shy, don't be afraid. You can always sand it off. You can always scrape off little pieces that you don't like. It's not a big deal. I like to start with any area that isn't maybe as important. So if I make a boo-boo on the flower area, it's not going to show up as much as on the line area where it's off on its own by itself. So what I like to do is to start in areas where it's a little bit, more complicated. The other thing is with flowers, with leaves, with petals, with nature, with life, nothing is perfect, right? And so don't worry about tiny imperfections. as a whole, it will look great, even if there are tiny imperfections when you look closely. So, all right, I'm gonna get started. Here we go. So I'm starting in the middle here where it really doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna work my way up. Now, with normal wood burning, I would tell you, you want to pull towards you, don't push. And this is for a couple of reasons. You wanna be able to see what you're burning. So when I pull towards me, I can see where I'm burning and see where I'm going. Also, when you pull towards you with other nibs, you won't run into hard spots and edges as easily. So it's a great way to kind of keep that in mind as you're burning, that you want to turn your wood. You want to turn it so that you can keep pulling towards you as you burn. And then once you feel a little bit more comfortable and you're like, all right, I'm ready to tackle the harder area, then you can work your way down and start working on those lines. And you're just gonna go nice and slow. Take your time. And it's okay if you have to pick up and move. See how I'm doing this like brushing sort of movement to get myself back introduced to the wood. I go nice and slow, and then I add back in, and you can't even see where I was. All right, and then you can just keep moving. Isn't it so relaxing though, you guys? It's like the most zen hobby, craft, art form, whatever you want to call it, there is out there, I swear. And it smells like a campfire, and you get to look at the pretty wood pieces. So here, right here, I'm going, what was my design supposed to be right here? This is why I like to keep my design nearby so that I can look at it and go, okay, now I know what I'm supposed to do, because I did a rush job when I was transferring, so my transfer lines aren't super clear. So this
Rachel,
is
we have another question here. So what do you do about wood grain? Can that ever make a difference in, the wood burning stroke, or do you anything to watch out for?
Yes, definitely. So it also depends on the type of wood that you're using. So basswood, even though it has this beautiful grain, it doesn't, with the burner, it doesn't change it much for you as far as how quickly it burns or how evenly it burns. It burns pretty smoothly. That's why choosing a good type of wood is so important, and having that smooth surface is so important so that you can avoid any of those hard spots that you might hit. But there are other woods out there that, for example, pine. Pine is a type of wood that is a light type of wood, so it shows the burning really well, but it has a lot of grain in it that when you hit those grain lines, it is harder. It's hard to manage the burner itself, because it might get super soft or it might get really hard, and you just don't really know what to expect. So having wood pieces that are nice and smooth, that you have them sanded smooth, and that the grain, it's going to behave a certain way, really does make a difference. So basswood is great. Walnut is pretty good. Maple is fantastic. There's a lot of really great woods out there, but basswood by far is my favorite for wood burning. All right, so back to it. Again, it's gonna be hot when I touch down. So see, I start to get my control back, and then I'm just gonna slowly pull it down. Now I'm not pushing. Some people think that they need to push in order to get the burn lines, and you don't. You shouldn't push at all, actually. You want the burner to do the work for you. You want to kind of let it glide on the surface. So you just kind of just let it glide. You'll notice when I'm doing the more concentrated bits, I just get real quiet. That happens. That definitely happens. Normally when I wood burn, I am by myself listening to a podcast or some music and just zoning out and just enjoying the burn. So if you fall in love with pyrography and you're new, I want to encourage you to come and check out Burn Club and Burn Club Plus. I collect pyrographers. That's my other side job, is collecting other wood burning artists like me, because it's so much fun to connect and exchange information and learn from each other. And so I've really worked hard on creating a fun and safe space for us all to do that. And that's what Burn Club and Burn Club Plus is. So come and check it out. They are fantastic. And you can learn everything there is to know about wood burning and wood burning business and all of that good stuff. So look, we have a wood burning, our first little wood burning. It's quick and easy, but so pretty. What I do immediately after I'm done burning is I turn it off and I unplug every single time, guys. Don't forget that part. Trust me. I can't tell you how many things I've burned because I didn't listen to my own advice. So the next step is to erase any graphite lines that are remaining. So I'm going to pull out my mono sand eraser from Tombow, and you can just go in and see there's, you know, little spots, and you can just scratch at them. It's not perfect, but it is by far the best eraser I've been able to find for wood. And by no means is this wood burned piece perfect, right? I can tell you a bunch of little mistakes that I made all along the way, but when we're finished, you're gonna look at it and be like, oh, that's so pretty. And you would never, ever see any of those tiny little, what I might see as mistakes or imperfections. You won't see them because flowers are imperfect. So just have fun with it, you guys. Wood burning is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be relaxing and chill and zen. So just enjoy the process of it, you know, if you can. Okay, so the next step is to add watercolor. So adding color to wood can be done so many different ways. I just wrote a book. It's called The Wood Burn Book. It came out last month. And in it, I have 9 different ways that you can add color to wood. And I walk you through all of the different ways and how great they are and why they're so great and what they're good for. But watercolor is my favorite. It is. It's my favorite. I just think that it has such vibrance to it. You can do so much with it. I just love it. I love it so much. So I'm excited to show it to you today and tell you a couple of my tricks when it comes to using watercolor with wood, because there are some tricks and there are some things to avoid. So as far as choosing the watercolor of your choice, there's lots of different options out there. I'm sure you've seen a bajillion at Michael's. I have a Winsor Newton palette here. Whoop, it's falling apart for me. There we go. And then I also have just like the palette that you can get from Michael's. And then I also have some liquid that you can use too. So it really doesn't matter the type of watercolor that you use. The important part of it is the water. You have to be careful when you're working with water on wood because you can split the wood, especially if you're working with a thin piece of wood. And you have to remember, we are purposely working on very dry wood. So as soon as water touches it, it wants to just soak it all up. And it does that with the color too. So I love using these water brush pens where the water is stored in the pen. Just it cuts down on the time for me to dip in the water for me, and I just love it. But what I do is I'm just gonna I start with my dark colors, which for my poppies, my dark colors start at the base of the flower. So if this is your flower. The bottom part of the flower is usually a darker color orange, and then it gets lighter towards the tips of the flower. So anywhere where it's the base of the flower is going to be a little bit darker, and then anywhere where it's the outside of the flower is going to be a little bit lighter. Now, in this style, because I did a loose watercolor style, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can totally go beyond the lines. This is one of those art classes, art projects where you can have fun with it. So I like to kind of get some color on my paintbrush, dip it out, make sure that I've got a good amount of color, and then I'm going to just kind of paint it on. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm doing the orange first, and then I'll go back and blend with my yellow. Now you
can we move up just a little bit again?
Sure, sorry guys.
Thank you, thank you.
I think I'm trying to help by moving it closer to the camera, but I'm making it worse. All right, here we go. So again, I'm painting down here and a little over here, down at the base, just get some of that color on there. And then I can even use the same paintbrush because I'm going to be mixing colors anyways, and they're so similar in color. I'm just going to use the same paintbrush, mix these kind of colors together. Let's get the bright yellow in there. And then I start by getting the yellow in all the places where I want it. And then after I get the yellow in all the places that I want it, then I go back and do the blending. So you can just kind of shove it around a little bit, but if you see, I don't know if you can see the orange, wherever I put that orange, it wants to stick, right? That's what I was saying about it wanting to stick. So that's where you come in and you can mix in the other colors. And then having a paper towel handy or a tissue of some sort to just blot will also help as well, because the watercolor doesn't like to stick to the burn lines. It doesn't want to stay there, but if you allow it to dry there, it will dry there. So you want to just have it be where you want it. And so I like to just go around while it's still wet and pull up any extra remaining bits of color that are on my burn lines, just because it makes my lines look so much cleaner. Now, after you're done kind of getting all of the color down where you want it, then the fun part really begins. I love the splashing of it. I just think it's so fun. And it's really dark right now, but it will dry a whole lot lighter and brighter. These are the same colors that I used on this piece. So you can see how the color changes when it dries. Great. All right, and see, I've got a little bit of color on my burn lines where I don't want them. So I'm just gonna dab and pull it up. And the color tends to stay on the wood, and anywhere where there's a burn line, it comes right up. Okay, so once I feel pretty good about where I have my color and I like where it's at, I mean, this isn't my best job ever if I'm being honest, but that's okay. No one will notice because flowers aren't perfect and neither am I. But I'm having fun and that's what's important, right guys? Okay, so one last dab. Now let's do some spraying. So this is the part where you get to kind of extend the flower beyond where the flower is. Like it's like a splashing of that color beyond where the flower outlines are. And the way that I do this is I use just a paintbrush. You can use the same one that you were using if you'd like, or you can use a bigger one, up to you, and get those colors. And then you literally just pull back and spray. Make sure there's nothing in the way of the spray that you want to keep clean. You don't want to do it wearing white clothes necessarily, but you'll get some really nice color added and just make it the whole thing feel like it's just going beyond. Look at that one. Oh, that was a good one. And who doesn't love getting messy? I love it. Makes me feel like a kid again. But isn't that what art is all about, right?
Rachel, another question.
Yes, let's hear it.
What if you get the watercolors outside the lines and you don't want them there? Any tips to fix that or?
So you can, it depends on how bad it is and what color. You can try with a very clean paintbrush to go in and kind of take some water and clean up some of that color, and then you can dab it dry again. The other thing you can do is wait for it to dry and then use just a little razor blade. They make pen razor blades that are real small, and you can just chip out that tiny little bit that went over. That also works really, really well. And that also works really well for any place where you have overburn. So for example, on this piece, you can see this line is not totally perfect here. I can take a razor blade. Let me see if I can find my razor blade really quick. Here it is. So see, this is my little pen razor blade. I got it, I think I might have even gotten it at Daiso or at Michael's, I mean. Okay, what you can do is just take and you just scratch at it like this. No one's the wiser, and look at that nice, beautiful, clean line I have now. Isn't that great? No one knows. It's so great. So you can do that literally with any of the lines. You're like, oh, you know, this line's a little bit too thick. I want it a little bit thinner. I'm just gonna scrape this little bit away, little by little, and you really can't tell. You cannot, no one will ever find where it was. So it's a great way to do that. The other way that you can do it is with these little sandpaper bits. You can use a tiny bit of sandpaper and sand it away. That's also another way to get a little bit of watercolor off or overburned lines that you don't want. But sandpaper is your best friend. It acts like an eraser for you, which is exactly what you want it to do. I want to talk a little bit more about the burner, if you guys want to talk more about burners, because, well, and actually before, I should finish this first. Before I finish, the other thing that I would do is wait for it to dry after I'm done with my watercolor and I'm happy with what it looks like. I mean, I'm kind of happy. It's not the best one I've ever done, let's be honest, but we're going to take this one and I like to add a finish to it. This is a Spar urethane finish, but you can use all sorts of finishes. I go over in my book 9 different finishes that you can use on wood burn pieces and what kinds of pieces they're good for and what it is good to go over as far as color. And with this, you just want to make sure that it's dry and clean before you go adding any sort of finish to it. And then what I like to do is after it's dried and finished and I've added the finish and that's dried, then I like to take just a picture frame or a picture holder like this and you just nail it in the back, and then you have a beautiful little wall hanging that you can hang anywhere in your house or give as a gift. And it's just so fun. So that's the little project, but I want to just dive in more about wood burning, you guys, because I know this was like a very quick and simple project, but wood burning and the things that you can do with it are endless, like seriously endless. I don't know if there's anybody out there. I haven't been looking at the chats. I want to look and see what else is going on with you guys. But if there are any wood burners out there that are watching, what do you love burning on? What do you love making? I would love to know. Send the link to razor blades. I have in my, if you come and visit me after on Woodburn Corner, everybody come and say hi. And I have lots of resources for anything that you need to know as far as wood burning related goes. So once you get started and you fall in love with it, I can get you your list of all of the tools that you need to get started that are really important for you to have. And then I'm there, and the community is there to answer any questions you guys have. Seriously, like any questions you have, do not feel afraid to reach out and ask, because I'm happy to answer them. Oh, you are so sweet. So many sweet comments. I wish I had the chat open this whole time, you guys. Yes. Oh, I saw someone say, don't seal before you burn. You always, 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 I cannot reiterate this enough, never burn on anything but unfinished, dried, and smooth wood. And make sure that it's the type of wood that is okay for you to burn on. Or just get yourself walnut hollow wood, basswood, because it's the best. But you heard that from me. I will tell you that it is the best. Do I need to seal my piece of wood before starting? No, definitely don't seal it before starting. And you don't even necessarily have to seal it afterwards. There are a lot of pyrographers out there who don't seal their pieces, and that's fine. I have my original piece that I made back in 2011. I didn't seal it, and it still looks just as good as when I got it. Granted, wood burnings don't go in the sun. They need to stay out of the sun. You want them in a nice shaded spot in your house, but they will last a long time, even if you don't have any sort of sealant on them. Any other questions, guys? Please ask away. I'm happy to answer. And I will be available online on Woodburn Corner after this for a full half an hour or an hour answering questions. So if you guys want to reach out afterwards, just find me on Instagram and at Woodburn Corner, and I will happily answer any questions you guys have. The woodburn kit. Yes, there's great wood burning kits out there too. Awesome. Okay. I want to, I feel like I've been given this amazing opportunity that I have like 10 more minutes left, because I managed to go quick enough. And so I can talk to you guys about all sorts of amazing wood burning things going on. On Instagram, every Monday, I offer up a different prompt idea that you can take and create a wood burned piece with. So this week's prompt is bold. So if you really loved wood burning today and you have your burner and you want to try and create something fun and different, please join in, create something bold, whatever it is, and post it to Instagram and show everybody, and you will immediately be part of the community, and everybody will just embrace you and bring you in. And it's the best, you guys. I'm telling you, the wood burning community is the best. Do you need to have a separate water brush pen for each color? Nope, you don't. Especially if you're mixing them, which we kind of mixed colors. You don't need to have different ones. You can, but you can also just take that water pen and you squeeze it, and it gets all of the color out of it, and then you can just dip into a new color, and it's like a fresh pen, or like you just took a paintbrush and cleaned it. What would you do if you went outside the lines? I don't worry about it too much when I go outside the lines, because I can either erase my original line with my Tombow sand eraser, or later on I can go back and just cut it away, chip it away, sand it away with a razor blade or a little bit of sandpaper. So I usually don't worry about it too much. And also, here it is again, guys. Here's the piece, right? Look how pretty it looks. And I can point out probably 20 mistakes on it. You know, like that are like little things that I could improve to make it even better. But look how pretty it looks. That's the thing, is we all are our own worst critics, right? So I want you guys to just have fun and enjoy the process of making it, and allow those tiny mistakes to happen without beating yourself up. The video, yes, I heard people are asking if this recording is going to be up and where it will be. In 24 hours, you can find it on michaels.com/classes. So you'd be able to find it there in 24 hours. What else do we have here, guys? Oh, I love this. I'm already seeing, I don't know if you guys have been seeing in the chat, but there's lots of wood burning artists who have been showing up and answering questions for me, which I so appreciate. So some people don't, oh, you don't like you're not a fan of the spray. There are also other ways that you can add finish. A lot of my, oops, sorry, I just made this jump around. A lot of my favorite finishes are actually oils. They just go on so nicely and really add like a real warmth to the wood that I just love. But with watercolor, you have to be careful when you're adding a finish. And with an oil finish, it can work, but you might also spread your watercolor around as you are applying it. So you just want to be really careful. What is that tool? Which tool? Are we talking about the pen razor blade, or are we talking about the Versatool that I was using, the actual wood burning tool?
Can we just talk about both of those again? We had a couple of questions about both of those.
So the Versatool is, you can get it at Michael's, and it is my favorite burner. It's the one I recommend to anybody who's starting out, and you will see professional wood burning artists that only use this burner. Seriously, go look up #Versatool after this, and you will be mind blown by all of the things that people can do with this one burner. But there's lots of different nibs that come with it. I highly suggest you guys start with the flow nib, just so that you can get a feel of wood burning. Then move yourself into the universal nib. That one takes a little bit more time to get control of and to have it kind of become a part of your hand. But if you spend enough time with it, you'll get there. The other thing that I wanted to talk about that I realized I didn't talk to you guys about much while we were actually burning is hand positioning. So with the Versatool, this is a solid nibbed burner, or a solid burner, where it has a long shaft that heats up, and your hand placement is a little bit further away from the nib. There are also professional wood burners out there where it's a wire nib, and so your hand placement is a little bit closer, but those are more expensive and not necessary in order to create amazing pieces of art. Do I own them? Yes, but do you need them? No, not necessarily. So when you are holding your burner, you want to use this pinky finger as your rest so that you have control over the burner as compared to the wood piece. If you're floating like this, there's no way you can have control. You have to be somehow, some way planted so that you can have that control as you're burning. The other thing that you can do is, if you're finding it hard in some areas to do that, is take another piece of wood or something else that's around the same size and place it next to that piece of wood so that now your hand is resting at the same height as the piece that you're working at. And that can help with your hand, maybe having trouble with burning, further away. So, because it's a thicker grip, and it is further away than like a pencil. So it does take some time for your hand to get used to it. And especially right now, because we all have either been typing on a computer and none of us have been writing or doing anything where we're having to hold anything for a while. I think it does take some time to build that up, but you can get there. Having a solid docking station is important. So I don't know if you saw me take the docking station that comes in the kit. It comes like this. You just flip it over and then place it on your desk. And then I always tape it down because you don't want this sliding around when it has something hot on it. So I always tape it down, and then I'm good to go to place my burner right on it, knowing that it's nice and secure and it's not going anywhere. So that's why I tape it down, because you just don't want this sliding around. But then you just, after you're done burning, place it there, turn off your burner, unplug it, and you're good to go. So it takes a little bit of time for it to cool down, just like it takes a little bit of time for it to heat up. And you can change out the nibs too. If you get a pair of pliers, like needle nose pliers, you can change out the nibs. I would suggest you do it when it's cold, but if you have to do it while it's warm, not hot, but while it's warm, just make sure that you have a ceramic dish nearby and that you're using pliers and being safe about it. But it's such a great tool, and you can do so much with it. The other tool you wanted to know about is it's a pen razor blade. It's just a tiny, tiny little razor blade. And you can just use it to literally chip away tiny pieces of wood, and it just cleans up your burn lines. It cleans up any parts that you maybe have overburned or overcolored. If there's a little mark on it or anything, it just kind of cleans those up. And professionals use this. Anybody, this is one of their favorite tools because it just gets you those nice clean lines. Anything else, guys? Any other questions out there?
We have a lot of questions about how to stay in touch with you. So if you can talk about your book and where to find it, your Instagram, the website.
Oh, yes. I'm everywhere. I'm Woodburn Corner for everything. You can find me at woodburncorner.com, at Woodburn Corner on Instagram, woodburncorner@gmail.com. You can find me anywhere. It's all Woodburn Corner. And my book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and a bunch of other places. I think it's going to be available on Walnut Hollow soon, and hopefully Michael's soon too, so just stay tuned for that. But it's really is everything you might want to know about wood burning in one spot, with some great project ideas too. And words of wisdom from the community. I got them involved, and there are so many amazing quotes from members of the community of them sharing their words of wisdom with everybody. So it's really fantastic. But yes, find me at Woodburn Corner. I will be there right now, right after the class, to answer any questions you guys have. And I hope you join me in Burn Club and Burn Club Plus and connect with a bunch of other pyrographers. Even if you are a brand new newbie and you are picking up your burner today, I hope you join us, because we just have so much fun together. And we burn together and we talk about wood burning, and you can just learn so much about this craft art hobby. So it's really great. I hope you guys come and check it out and join me. You guys have been fantastic, and I can't wait to see all of the amazing pieces that you make. I hope you tag me and message me and reach out. I would love to see all of the pieces that you make. And yeah, oh look, I just looked over at the comments, and people are leaving comments with all of the different things that they make. It's great. I love it. Oh, see how amazing this community is. I hope you guys have been reading the chat, because they've been writing so many helpful hints and tips and tricks. They're fantastic. Anyways, thank you all so much for joining me, and I hope I see you on Woodburn Corner. And check out Walnut Hollow too while you're there. They have so much good stuff between the burner and the wood and everything else. I love them. They're my favorite company. They really are, because they make the best wood. It's the wood I've been using from the start. It's the burners I've been using from the start, and they're just the best. So yeah. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you around.